Hey guys, good morning. Hope everyone's doing good. It's a beautiful day out here. I'm here with Larry from Break the Barriers. He's an Army vet. Larry's got something he wants to tell everybody. All right, Larry, I'm gonna flip it around for you. Go ahead and tell everyone, Larry.
Hello, my name is Larry Green, and as I said, I'm an Army veteran. About 3 or 4 years ago, I went through a time period when I could barely stand up, much less walk, and I already went to Break the Barriers for archery, but it turns out they had this program called the HOPE program, where anything that a doctor has ever told you you couldn't do, you can do it. The people at the HOPE program, what they do is they will take you where you are and start working with you one step at a time, and they will get your body back into its best shape.
This episode is brought to you by Merge Marketing for all of your needs on print, design, webpage design, and security. Go to mergemarketinginc.com. Welcome to Submerge Life. I am your host, Tony. Before we get started, I just want to remind you guys, go to submergelife.com. There's a link on there to our merch, and the sales from that merch, the proceeds, go to many different organizations, like my friend Lo, who is out in North Africa. We're trying to help her get some school supplies. I got my buddy Lodo, who's working in juvenile justice system, and they're helping kids out in there. And then my friend Matt and Megan, who are doing urban missions in the Jackson neighborhood. So go to submergelife.com, click on the merch link, support some people. And today I have a great guest. I'm super excited. Help me welcome Rachel to the show. Hello, Rachel.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah, let's do it.
You have no idea what you're getting yourself into, huh?
Probably not.
All right. Well, here on Submerge Life, we ask two questions. How are you submerging into life? And then the journey that took you there. So first off, real quick, how are you submerging into life?
Well, I, for the past 10 years, have been working as the director of the HOPE program at Break the Barriers. So we work with people who have kind of gone through neurological trauma, stroke, spinal cord injuries, from birth, cerebral palsy, spina bifida, things that they often want to regain or continue to gain mobility. And a lot of times doctors or medical staff will say, well, this is all you get. Just be content with life where you are. And we kind of think out of the box and find ways to get them back up on their feet.
Okay. And that's Break the Barriers in general, right? That's the whole program. They just work with anywhere from what ages to what ages.
So my program specifically, the HOPE program, we work with neurological people who have neurological conditions.
Okay.
And Break the Barriers in general has they work with people of all abilities. It started because Debbie, the founder, had a sister with Down syndrome, and Debbie was a world-class gymnast, and her brother was excellent in his sport, and nobody would let their sister with Down syndrome do anything. They said, oh, you need a special place for her. So Debbie made that special place with her husband, Steve, and her sister, Kathy, went on to become a gold medalist in Special Olympics multiple years in a row for gymnastics and swimming and all the things that she was told she wasn't good enough to do. And Break the Barriers continues to do that to this day.
Nice. And then your part is of the HOPE program. So before we get into, more details on the HOPE program and some of the amazing miracles that you have seen in the HOPE program, let's talk about you and your story and how you came to do this kind of work. So I will let you start off wherever you would like, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, I grew up in a family who went to church every Sunday, and my parents are believers. In a lot of ways, they raised us kind of as, it was like first generation Christians, kind of, which was pretty important in my life. I remember just when I was young, I would see people coming from all over the world to speak in our churches, talking about the cultures and the countries that they had gone to, and what God was doing in those places. And I just remember being really intrigued by it. I never really thought I would do anything, but I have very distinct memories from 4 and 5 years old, just being very curious about what they would do. And when I was about 15, I went to Mexico with a ministry called Caravan Ministries through the church I was going to at the time. And while I was down there for the week, the man in charge, Dave Burdett, he just kind of encouraged us. He said, everybody waits for a call to go overseas, but God's already called us. He's already told us that we should be going. So you should be waiting for a call to stay. And that really made a lot of sense to me as far as global ministry is concerned. Places of the world who have never heard Jesus' name, and he's kind of important in my life. And so that's what I started doing. I started looking for ways to go. I went to school to get a physical therapy degree because I figured I could take that anywhere. People always need physical therapy in all sorts of cultures. So that would be a very helpful way to actually be useful where I would go. And probably I was almost done with my degree, and we had to do internships, And unfortunately, or fortunately, I went to a local hospital that to do outpatient, and I remember working with one girl who had just become paralyzed, and they were doing a series of workouts that she was really good at. And I just kind of asked the trainer, hey, she's doing that really easily. Can we make that harder for her? Can we try it this way? And he said, oh no, she'll never be able to do that. And that was a moment where I sat back and I said, I don't think this job is for me. If never is what is expected, I don't think this is what I'm going to do. And I know there are a lot of physical therapists who don't use that word. For whatever reason, this one did, and it altered my course. I finished my degree in just general kinesiology, and then I had already begun working at a preschool. So I did that for about 10 years. I didn't really understand why I was at a preschool. I kind of thought, okay, God, what's this? Like, this isn't what I went to school for. It's not related at all. But even there, I saw like what he was doing. There were countless children who he had put me there specifically to even alter the course of their life. Children who had behavior issues or who had no respect for their classmates or their teachers. He used me to give them a little bit of a course correction so that they could do well later in life.
How do you feel in doing the, with the nursery, how do you feel like that was preparing you for the next step in life?
I look back on it now and I realize that while I was working with the kids and teaching them how to use their bodies, I would always give them obstacle courses. I would, find creative ways to get them to climb or to run or whatever. From the babies, teaching the babies how to trust that they could walk. If there's a moment with a child when they go from crawling to walking where they're up on their feet, they're a little unsteady, and then all of a sudden they just start to step. They just start to go, and all of a sudden they just realize, I can do this. I don't have to fall anymore. I can walk. And yeah, so that's definitely been useful in my career. I didn't realize I was getting all this great training along with the other purposes that he had that was there.
They always say trust the process, right? Trust the process. You never know, you don't see the end goal, or you don't see what this is working you towards, but too many times they're constantly inside life. It's just the process. And then you're going to look back and be like, oh, that's why I went through that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And during that time, I was still traveling overseas, trying to find places where I should go and use the skills that I had. And on my last trip, I came back to Fresno and was offered this position at Break the Barriers. And I knew I was going to stay local for at least a year. And I would just kind of see what would happen at the end of that year. But I really felt like that was the time where God said, okay, now you're going to stay. So I've been staying, and it's been great. I've watched I've been here for all 8 of my nieces and nephews, their birth.
Yeah.
The oldest 2 are 10 this year, and then the youngest just turned 1. And I really consider it a blessing that I have been kind of called to stay for this time.
Yeah. Do you still have the desire to go overseas somewhere?
I am content to stay at this point. I would go overseas. I don't want to be like longing for something that it's not time for either. So I think if the time comes for me to go again, then it will be evident, like, okay, it's time to go. That'll be great.
I think that's important because sometimes we can get distracted with the long-term. Not that there isn't a problem with having plans in the future, but sometimes we just attach to that and we don't live in the moment, or we don't live and appreciate the things that we have in front of us because we want that way over there, a year down the line, 10 years down the line, and then we just missed a year, 10 years of life that we could have just been investing in people and loving on people. All right. So so Break the Barriers hired you on. Was it specifically for the Hope program, or was it just or is that something that you developed?
They were bringing in people to start the program. So I was hired specifically for that. And I was, me and another trainer were sent away for training down south. And then we came back and developed the program as it is today. So a little of both. Was brought on for the program, but it's been 10 years of fine tuning, and I've been the main person behind the way that it's developed. So.
Cool. All right. So now let's just talk about the Hope program before we get into the big event that you guys are having in October, because it's an awesome event, which I'm naming this episode after it. Sort of. This episode is called Turtle, and it's called the Turtle Walk or the Turtle Run.
It's the Herd of Turtles 5K.
Herd of Turtles 5K. Perfect. So let's just talk about the Hope program a little bit more in depth than what you went on earlier. Who are you guys serving? What kind of things do you do? I just want to give you the floor. Go for it.
Yeah. So we work with people from all ages. My youngest right now is 2.5, and my oldest is 94. And just wherever they are in their recovery, we work to get them further along. So sometimes people come in and they have no muscle tone at all. So they come in, they're just really like loose and floppy, their heads down all the time, they have no core control, and then they, we teach them how to use their muscles, because a lot of times with like these neurological injuries, there's that brain disconnect. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to reconnect the brain to the body. And so sometimes it's just a matter of they didn't know they could do it, so they just didn't try. People told them that they couldn't, so why bother? Or sometimes it's really hard, like rewiring your brain circuit to like reconnect to nerves that may or may not respond right away. So wherever people are, sometimes they come in, their muscles are like tense all the time. They're just like, they can't turn them off. So it's like, okay, well, they can turn on, so then you learn how to turn them off. It's just about getting your body to do what your brain is telling it to, which is exhausting. A lot of times it's not like people, they're not like physically exhausted. They're just like, okay, I can't think anymore, but that's what it takes. Like, that's what it takes. If there was an easy way to do it, I don't have that way. And everybody, so my 94-year-old has to put in as much work as my 2.5-year-old if they want to get the kind of results that they're hoping for.
You are literally going all ages here.
Yeah.
Wow, from 2 to 94.
Yeah. I've actually also worked with a lady who's 100.
Holy smokes. Wow. Let's get into some of these miracles that you were telling me about, because a lot of this is a miracle. Doctors are telling them like, hey, you're not going to go any further. And like, this is it. Just ride around inside your scooter or inside your wheelchair. And so they have that defeated mindset, but then they come over here and, from the videos that I've seen and from what I heard from you is that you're super encouraging and you just want to keep pushing and pushing. And then you see some miracles happen. What are some of the miracles that you've seen?
Yeah. So, a lot of times people come in, well, I have two or three types that come in. There's the kind who are like, I don't care what the doctor said, I know I can do more, let's go to it. And it's really easy to kind of come alongside them and say, all right, these are the ways to do it. They still obviously have hard times. They get discouraged if things don't come along as quickly as they want. And then I have the ones who come in kind of expecting that because they're there, they're just gonna see a result. That doesn't work. That's not how it works. You still have to put the effort in. You have to do the things at home, that kind of thing. And then I have the people that come in and they don't really want to be there, and they'd rather not. Maybe they're minors and this isn't where they want to be. But mom and dad do know best a lot of the time, and they're I applaud those parents who kind of put their kids in those positions that are going to get them strong enough so that when they're in a point to be, independent on their own, they're going to be thankful that mom and dad kind of put them in those places. So for me, one of the miracle stories, I guess, is about a young girl. She was put there because her parents wanted her there, and she really, really struggled for a very long time, emotionally, mentally. Just, it was hard for her. She didn't want to do any of the things. She had no motivation. But I saw God over time through the Hope program, through everybody at Break the Barriers, the staff, the Break the Barriers team, just start to kind of show her like it's possible to do more. It's possible to be stronger. And she's now been there, I think, 3 years, and she wants to do the work. She's gotten stronger. She walked for the. I made her put her wheelchair or her walker aside at the event last year, and had her, without telling her ahead of time, I just said, "Okay, you got 20 more feet. Put it down. Walk across the finish line." That's something she never would have done first started. And she did it, and it was just, for me, that was a huge moment, because like physical progress can be tricky sometimes. You get it, you lose it, you get it, you lose it. The same thing with mental and emotional progress. But I find that when people are like mentally and emotionally forward moving, then the physical comes with it. So that's, I mean, some people might think it's a minor story, but for me, that meant
No, that is definitely not a minor. I wanted to grab some tissue right now because I felt like something was. Yeah, I felt like I got a hair in my eye.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful story, especially to see people just overcome. They accept the challenge, and then not only do they try the challenge, but they go and they complete it. They're like, yeah, okay, 20 feet, all right, let's go, and then finish line. Never knowing that you were ever going to do that, and there she is doing it.
Yeah. And that is how the race started, was because one of the guys said, well, I'm never going to be able to do 2 miles. And I said, never encounter swear words in here. You know that. You owe me $1, first of all. And second of all, now everybody's going to train for this race that I just decided we're going to do. And that was 6 years ago. He's one of our veterans. And he came in after a setback from a stroke that he had years before. And he served in the Army in the 80s, I think, but he wasn't able to get out of his chair much. He was really overweight, and he says that himself, so I'm not being mean. He was really overweight, and his back and his hips he couldn't lay down flat in anything. So that was the first thing we do, is we just worked him so that he would go from like this angle of like his upper body and lower body, and then finally he was able to like lay all the way down over a couple of months' time. And then from there, getting him in a walker, getting him moving, and he 2 years ago he did a mile without his walker for our turtle run. And just this week he told me that his doctor was taking him off of the diabetes medication because he's lost so much weight from being mobile, that he no longer has to be like modified. He doesn't have to take medication anymore. So that's a pretty big deal. Those things we don't think about of just all the medication people are on, it can be good, but sometimes when you take it off, it's like, okay, I can do this myself now. He's lost about 100 pounds, and now he's walking all the time with his walker. He still has some issues with his leg and his back, but much healthier. And so that's Larry, and then Mike.
I thought that was Larry. I walked with him for a little bit. A couple years. I have a selfie with him. I love Larry. I'm gonna put it when I do the video. I'm putting that selfie. I think Matt and Isaiah were a part of that. Matt was consistent in staying in contact with Larry and walked with him. A couple years, like 3 years ago. And so then we got to walk with him a little bit during that. Oh, Larry, such a great guy.
Yeah, definitely forward-minded too in his mentality of, okay, I'll just keep going. And then him and one of his good friends, I would say they're good friends, and are in the Hope program. They would say they hate each other, but they don't. But they were training for our first race and crossing the crosswalk. They're both kind of snarky, or they're quick-witted. And somebody said something to them, and they just said, "Oh, you know us, we're just a herd of turtles moving across this crosswalk. We'll get there eventually, but stay out of our way." And then that's kind of how the race name started, was telling everybody that we were the herd of turtles. And they found a really great graphic of this determined looking red turtle, and that's become our mascot for the race. So Yeah, that's how it started.
That's hilarious. All right, well, let's talk about the Herd of Turtle race. What exactly is it? It's a 5K,
Mm-hmm.
and anyone that's inside the program or inside Break the Barriers, they can do it, right? And then they're training for it. How are things have changed with COVID? Are people still able to volunteer and walk for training, or are they on their own training?
We've been doing a lot more home training, which has been great for everybody because a lot of them have done the races a few times.
Mm-hmm.
So personal discipline to do it at home has been really cool. And then we are still doing. We have one more in-person training next month.
Okay.
But so the race is now designed for the Hope Program clients and then the public to join in.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a typical 5K, of course, because I like people to experience things. So for the public, what we do is we give everybody some sort of modification to mimic movements that my clients make on a regular basis because of the way their brain and body are connected. And a lot of times it's been incredible to see the friends and family of clients who participate. They think they understand. Like they come in, they're like, "No big deal. This is not a problem. I can do this." And especially there was one boy, or young man, he was in his 20s, I think. His mom had multiple sclerosis his entire life. And he was a very good son. Him and his brother were both amazing. Like they loved their mother. They took care of her. They never complained. He did this, and he was a professional basketball player overseas in Europe. So he was very athletic. He did the 1 mile. It was only a mile at the time, a challenge with just one leg that he couldn't bend. And he came back and he just broke down. He went to his mom. He said, "I am so sorry. I did not understand how hard this was. I am so sorry." And just watching him kind of like he's been around it. It's not new to him. He's seen her struggle.
Yeah.
But the experience opened his eyes to go, wow, I didn't realize that things were this hard. And when we kind of experience other people's life for a minute, it can it gives us a little bit more grace, I think.
Oh yeah.
Go, oh, they can't. It's not that they want to go slow. It's that this is taking all of their energy, and they are a lot more capable than I am. They're not handicapped. They're not disabled. They're exercising so much more determination and strength of character than you would ever believe possible. And that's something I want people to understand too. Is people in my program aren't disabled. They're not handicapped. They're people that are going through something that they have to fight to better themselves. And just like we all have our own things that if we don't put the work in, we're never going to get better at. So it's I think it's important, like, not to look down on them, because any of us could be in a wheelchair at any point. There are people who just happen to be sitting down a lot, or who are moving a little slower because that's as much as their body will let them at the moment. But they're still people. So the race experience is now you're allowed to even go with the clients alongside them as they're doing it, as they're doing their own distances. It's a 5K. It's set up as a 5K, but all my clients, some of them, it's just all my clients have their own distances and goals to reach. Because for some of them, it'll take them an hour and a half to walk a half mile. So that's great. Like, and that's a half mile is more than they've done ever before after or since their injury. So we kind of gear their races to something that's a challenge for them. That's something that they can master. And then for the public, you get to do as many laps as you want. Each lap is a mile long. So if you're content finishing 1 mile, and you're done. Then you can watch all the clients turn around and do their second and third mile. And
so what are some of the modifications that you give to the public if they want to do this race or they want to do this run, this walk?
So the modifications we do at the race, I don't always explain because sometimes people in their competitive nature want to try to train for it, which I guess is fun. We usually just try to limit body movement in some way.
Okay.
So an arm or a leg or a couple arms and legs or whatever the case may be. Nothing's intended to hurt anybody. It's just to restrict what is their normal gait. They do have the option to bring their own wheelchair and try finishing a race in a wheelchair. Or if they want to bring a walker and push a walker. My mom did that one year.
Yeah. Just
because she wanted to see what it was like. And by the time she got back, she wanted to throw that walker away. She's like, this thing is worthless. It doesn't help at all. It's like, I know. So go ahead. Great.
Okay, so this is the Herd of Turtles 5K. Your clients have their own goals, and they are walking, jogging, whatever it is, but they have their own personal goals of going and doing this K, whatever. It could be a mile, 2 miles, 3 miles. And then you've got the people in the public, you're going to give them a modification, or they can bring their own wheelchair or a walker, and then they can do it on their own, right? So people can still sign up for this.
Yes.
Right? And where can they sign up? Is it an easy address? I'm gonna put it inside the description. But it's
through Run Sign Up.
Okay.
It's a big race company, and you just type in Herd of Turtles 5K, and ours will be the one with the rabbit with the Hope program that you select is usually right on top. And it's for October 9th from 9 a.m. to about 11 a.m. over at Dry Creek Park on Clovis and Fluvial.
So this is for everybody that lives inside the Central Valley of California, Fresno and Clovis. If they do not live in California, but they still want to support what you guys are doing, they can just sign up for the run, pay for it, right? Or there's an extra donation button on top, right?
Yeah, there's a donation button there. It goes right to us. All the money from that goes to the Hope program. All the sign-ups for the race go to the Hope program also. There's a virtual run option. So
nice.
People all over the country can participate. And they can, do their own impediment to see how it works. And yeah, that virtual run is from the 2nd to the 16th, I think, is when we have that set up.
How many people do you usually have? How many clients do you usually have participating?
In the race, there's usually about 20.
About 20?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And will you still have T-shirts available there to purchase like you've had in years past?
Yeah, we'll have our crew shirts available, which is our rabbit with holding up the Go Turtles banner. So you can show your support by being part of the turtle crew for our clients. Mm-hmm.
Man, this is awesome. I love going to the race. I think I've been twice. Once to walk with Larry, and then once I just showed up. I was doing a bunch of things that day, and I wanted to go and take some photos and see some people and see these amazing stories and these accomplishments. How can somebody learn more about the program? Where can they go to learn more about the Hope program and break the barriers?
So breakthebarriers.org is our website. And then if you just find the Hope program under classes, I think it's listed. Have a description there. And if you have questions, you can email, and I'll respond to that. You can email hope@breakthebarriers.org as well.
Perfect. And the people that you're serving, a lot of them are vets, right?
We do have a significant veteran population. Yeah. Probably about 8 years ago, Tyler Hergenrader son of the founder, one of the sons of the founder, realized that, I think it's 22 vets a day that commit suicide in our country. And so we began looking for ways to reach out to our veteran population. A lot of them, especially from the Vietnam era, the Korean era, they feel forgotten and isolated. And watching them come into our building mad and angry and kind of like, all right, let's see what I can get from this place before they totally show me that they're not trustworthy. But watching them change once they realize that we do care. We train them for archery. Many of our vets have won medals across the country in the veterans games, and they're part of our annual 100 3D targets open out in Madeira, where professionals from all over the world come and participate alongside them. So watching them transform is pretty incredible. Seeing them now, when new people come in, they're the first to greet the new ones and say, "Come on in! Like, this is a great place." They claimed it as their own in a lot of ways, which has been really nice to see. Yeah. And because of the generosity of people in our community, we are able to offer programs to the vets for free, which is just a nice way to give back, I think.
That is so amazing. That's awesome. How have funds been coming? Because obviously, 2021, you guys couldn't be open for a while. Then you were able to be open, and then they were telling you, no, you couldn't. And it's like, no, this is one of those programs that it's needed, not just for special needs, but for veterans and mental health. How are the donations coming? Is it coming back?
We are a nonprofit that is always borderline red in as far as what we owe or have funds for. It's not as dire as last year. Last year there were a couple of months where we might have closed our doors forever. The community rallied around and kept that from happening. We feel like God still wants this building open.
Yeah.
And that being said, we always need funds for the Hope program. The clients, just the income that they have, sometimes coming for sessions is just hard to manage. Our sessions are the cheapest around. They're $47 an hour, and that can be a burden for people to do. They want to come 2 to 3 times a week because that's the only time they get out of their chair and get exercising. So the whole program always needs funds to help our clients. The cool thing about the race is that we use the race as a way to disperse the money that comes in. Any scholarships go only through the Turtle Run. So
yeah.
And the scholarships are dispersed based on how much each person trained and their participation in the race. So they have to earn it. They're working for it. And this is a way to kind of motivate them. Yeah, you can do this on your own. You can get out.
Right.
And then we'll reward. We reward kind of based on that. So I like that. I like that people are taking ownership of their recovery. They're not just looking for let me have all the money. I understand that it's hard, but they're working for it. That's great.
Yeah.
Everybody should do that.
That's awesome. I love Break the Barriers and the Hope program and what you guys are doing. And it is such a huge need, especially during the pandemic, when everything was closed down and people being out of their system. Right. And I love you guys. You guys are so positive. You and then Steven, Shaka Steve, love that
Yeah.
kid. And Kyle, absolutely
Yep.
love that guy. You guys, you have such an amazing team out there, so positive and so encouraging. And so if you guys are watching, you want to learn more about Break the Barriers and the Hope program, just go to breakthebarriers.org. If you want to sign up for this run, whether it's virtual or in person, what is it? What's the name of the sign up?
Run sign up.
Run sign up, and then search Herd of Turtles 5K. I'm gonna once I publish this video on YouTube and Spotify and all of them, I'm going to have all the details in the description, and you guys can click on the link there. If you want to donate more, especially to the Hope program, on that run sign up, there's a donate button. But guys, let's fill it up. Let's have like 1,000 participants or something. Let's do it. Let's go for it, because it's a great program, both inside Break the Barriers and the Hope program. Great programs. Absolutely love what you guys are doing. For someone that is ready to give up and ready to quit, Rachel, what are some words that you can give to give them a new hope?
It's really hard to be in a place where you don't want to do anything else. I've been there a few times, just kind of like, I don't know if things are going to get better. But I do know that that's usually just a temporary thing, even though it might feel like it's a long time. And when you kind of lift your head up and look around and start realizing there are things that you can get involved in, a lot of times that's the first step towards throwing that sadness away, because we do have the ability to keep moving forward. There's something I have written on the walls is each of us are either victims or victors, and what we choose to be defines how we live. A lot of people come into the Hope program and they look at my clients and they say, oh, they're victims of this thing, and that's not true at all. They're victorious every day, and they've chosen to live that way. And if they were choosing to live like a victim, they wouldn't be in that room. So it is a choice, and they do have to kind of decide which one they want. Last story, I guess, about someone who chose to be a victor is a guy named Mike Connor. He's a veteran that started in our program a few years back. He's kind of locally famous just because he fell through a 3-story building. He was in an attic, went to doing fire inspection, went to take a step, somebody shined a light in his eyes, and he missed the step and went through the ceiling, which was the floor, which was 3 stories up. Never lost consciousness. Shattered 95% of the bones in his body. The doctors looked at his spinal cord. It was down to 10%, just smashed to 10%, which is, I think they said you're supposed to lose it. If you're supposed to lose feeling at 40%, you're supposed to lose function. They told him he was going to be paralyzed, and they didn't even really bother to put him back together right. He had a lot of trauma, but they took his bones in his feet, and they just kind of like took him and just dumped him back in and then stitched his feet up, which still causes him a lot of pain, because they said, well, he's never going to walk, so it doesn't matter how we fix him. So he started coming to the program, I think a couple years after his injury. He was in a wheelchair at the time, and was able to stand with help, but that wasn't. It was an effort to stand up, and he was one of those moments, like, as we got him standing and standing and standing and standing, and then taking steps with the parallel bars to help him. He would scream in pain because his feet were so messed up, but he would still just keep doing it. He wasn't going to live his life when he knew in a chair when he knew he could be out of it. And it's not bad to live your life in a chair. He just knew that he could. He just knew that when he was living there, he was being a victim. Like, and that was a victim for him.
Yeah.
So I just remember the moment where he was walking really well in the parallel bars, and I just kind of sometimes bark orders, because if you just say to do something, then they don't think about it, they just do it, and then they go, I just did that. So it's just like, okay, do this, okay, do this, okay, now walk to that chair and then walk back. And then he walked away from the parallel bars, walked to the chair and walked back. And I said, do you realize you did that without anything helping you? And he just lost it. He just was like, I can't believe I did that. Like, that was such a fear thing for him. And he would often tell me, I'm not going to be able to do something. And we would do it right that very day. I told him he could walk on a balance beam, a wide balance beam. He said, I could never do that. So he owed me $1 because you're not supposed to say never. and then that day, he did the balance beam by himself. It took a lot for him. He was afraid of falling again, even from short heights, but he just didn't want to give up. And now he is doesn't use a wheelchair or a walker at all. He's doing great. So he's I think he's on our Facebook page. He's holding a wheelchair over his head in victory. Yeah.
That is an amazing story. That's I love hearing those things. That's awesome. So if you guys want to hear more inspiring stories or read some more, follow them on Facebook and go to the webpage, and you can see performances too, right? Every year there's the Nutcracker. You guys have your gymnast team that performs in the halftime shows, or that used to. I think everything's coming back now, slowly. But they're performing in the halftime show with wheelchairs and all kinds of things. It's such a beautiful program. Thank you so much for joining me, Rachel, and sharing these stories. We got to continue to get the word out, because we need more programs like the Hope program. We need more organizations like Break the Barriers, just to keep pushing, right? Keep pushing people. I think one of my biggest pieces of advice that I give to new parents, because I used to take care of kids. Well, I still do, but I started taking care of kids at like 2, and I'm like, don't underestimate them. Don't.
No.
Because if you underestimate them, they're going to stay at that level. And so the kids that I was taking care of, like, I just kept pushing and pushing, very gently. I didn't be like, all right, go do a cartwheel. and they can't even walk. No, not like that. But I just continued to push them on sight words and visuals and colors and all that. And we underestimate people and their willingness and their strength that they can do. And sometimes it's going to take time. Like, it's going to take an hour and a half to do a mile, possibly.
Yeah.
But that's the point, is they're going to get it done. Like, I'm going to do it. That's the way I am on hikes. Like, don't push me. I'm going to get to the end point. It may take me 6 hours, but I'm going to get there. I did some Tough Mudders. I'm like, don't push me. I'm going to get there. It took me 5, 6, 8 hours. I think the first one was 8 hours. And the second one I got down to 5 hours. I'm going to get there. So thank you so much for joining me. guys, go visit Break the Barriers. Go sign up for this virtual run, or if you can, go in person. Get that ailment. It's right, that modification, which is going to be a surprise unless you bring a wheelchair or a walker. And let's go to it.
I don't want to hurt anybody, but yeah,
Well, if I'm there, I'm gonna. If I know the person, no, I'm just kidding. If it's Matt, I'm gonna be like, Matt, nope, tape all of his legs together, or whatever it is. Like, put his arms behind his back, put a blindfold or something. So,
like a mummy, yeah.
exactly, like a mummy. Thank you so much for coming on. Larry, you got this. Go for it, Larry. Let's cheer on Larry as he's doing it again, right, this year?
Yep, doing it again.
So awesome. Yeah. So thank you for joining. Guys, don't forget to visit submergelife.com. You can listen to all the episodes there. Subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, everywhere that you are listening to podcasts, you can subscribe. So thank you again for joining, April. Have a great day. Enjoy it.